Hello, this is John, host of Mgtow is Freedom. I had a a commenter, subscriber, J-Dog, ask a question. Do I have any recommendations for how to live the minimalist lifestyle? And what that'll do to not raise your income, but give you more disposable income at the end of the year. So I've got my experiences in life. I spent 20 years plus married, and I spent an incredible amount of money there. And I've lived, since divorce than before, at living a minimalist lifestyle. So what I discovered, and painfully so, and I learned right away that when you have a woman in your life who wants to keep up with the Joneses, that drives you to do things that make no sense, that make no good sense for yourself. Minimalist lifestyle. I think the best way to look at that is basically using Maslow's hierarchy of our basic needs: food, shelter, clothing, and protection I also consider on there. And under protection you could cover both insurance and maybe even investments. So when I look at how to live, how I live now, how much I don't spend compared to how much I did spend. Many of you have guessed, if you just haven't heard me say it outright, I live in a fifth wheel trailer. It is paid off. It's large, it's comfortable, but it's paid off. Before I bought this, I lived in a 3,200 square foot house with an 1,100 square foot attic, basically bonus room, playroom. I had a 1,600 square foot garage. I had 800 square feet of covered porch. I had it all, man. I was living in the lap of luxury. Had a 40-acre ranch, 2 barns, all fenced, all beautiful, about an acre of lawn. And that thing consumed every last penny I had. And it also consumed all of my free time. Cleaning it, taking care of it, trying to improve it, trying to keep up with it. Did I live in the lap of luxury? Yeah. Could I go do that again? Yes, I could. But I look at how I live now, and believe it or not, I live in the lap of luxury in a fifth wheel. I'm warm when I want to be warm. I got an air conditioner when I want to be cold. I've got an oven, a stove, a microwave. I've got a refrigerator and a freezer. I've got a pantry. I've got a kitchen. Believe it or not, in this place, I've got 3 smart TVs and a computer. And it doesn't cost me a nickel. It doesn't cost me a nickel. So when someone says, is Mgtow or just a man wanting to save money, is it possible to do? Yeah. Damn right it can. I also live in a place where I don't pay rent. That's another game you can play. You can live at an RV park for a couple $100 a month. Out here in California, there's places that are up to $800 a month just to park your RV. Whether it's an RV or a fifth wheel or a trailer. So, you can be selective about that and minimize your cost. And a lot of what we describe when we talk about living cheap or living inexpensive is relative to where you live. You want to live in Sacramento or the Bay Area or LA, you're going to pay more money, and you guys know that. So it's all relative. Where I live, it's free. My trailer's free. I don't pay any rent. You can do that by living on a friend's property. You can do it a lot of different ways. Taking care of someone else's property. They'll let you park your stuff there for free. So how you live is a huge, huge expense. Do you want to live in a fifth wheel? Could you live in a fifth wheel or a trailer? Or do you need an apartment? Something really cheap. What I didn't like about owning the mega estate was that I had to not only pay for the mortgage, but I had to pay property taxes. All right, I may have lost my place a little bit. My son stopped by to bullshit with me. We were talking about living in a giant house and all the expense with that. It took all my money, all my time. And here in a fifth wheel, I've got no expense because I just paid cash for it. You know, the difference between spending $10 or $15 or $20,000 on a house. And even if you financed it, your payments are $100, $150. And it's not a 30-year loan. You know, it's a 5 or a 10-year loan. So that's a way to live a minimalist lifestyle. But I still live like a king. I've got a shower. This place has 2 bathrooms, 2 toilets, 2 sinks, okay, and a master bedroom. I've got a bunkhouse here for my kids and their own bedroom. You know, and I've got everything. I've got an office. I've got everything. So I live like a king, but I pay a poor man's price for it. And I've got everything. I cook real meals, right? I live in comfort. Air conditioning, heating, everything I want. And not only does the cost of the house stay small, but my month-to-month expenses for electricity, for gas, are lower. They're the same or lower. Obviously, fifth wheels and trailers and such aren't as well insulated as a real house, but they're just a lot smaller. So when you talk about what does a man need to survive, what does a man need to get by? Well, you know, shelter is the huge one. Your house. It is a huge expense. Huge expense. And knowing you can live like a king, all you got to do is get by the stigma. The stigma that everyone else has. That is, you live in a trailer? Aren't you executive management? You know, aren't you rich? It doesn't matter what they think of me. You know, that is the deal, is that we as people live in fear of what other people think. And that is one of the things that is a man and as Mgtow you can let go of. That is why women demand to have the big houses. They want to impress everybody, the keeping up with the Joneses. I don't need to impress anybody. But I do want to live as comfortably as possible. And I do that right here. I've got all the cold beer, good wine, excellent scotch. I've got all the food I want stored here. It is just like a regular house. It's just a condensed version of it. I don't have to walk 50 feet to get to the kitchen, which is what I used to have to do. Right now, I don't. Okay, everything's right here. But it is the fear of what other people think that causes us to do things. Fearing being made fun of, laughed at, scorned or ridiculed, being guilted and shamed. I don't care what other people think. The shelf you see portion of above my head runs from one end of the room to the other. It's full of my books, my library. I've got everything I need right here, and I live very comfortably. Another thing that people insist that you have and that you show a lot of is cars, automobiles. It's a huge expense, and the minimalist doesn't need to show that off. Now, if you want a nice car, I don't blame you at all. I've got a toy. But as far as my daily driver, I've got a 2000 F350. I bought it with cash back in 2006. You know, and I've had the same truck ever since, and I'm going to keep it and just keep driving the piss out of it. I don't care what other people think about it. It's still a fucking awesome truck. It looks great. You know, but at some point someone's going to say, hey man, your truck's getting old. What the hell? You know, it drips a little oil. Who cares? I don't care. What I care is that I don't have to pay money for it. I don't have to pay extra money. I don't have a monthly expense. I don't have to pay $1,000 to live in a house, and I don't have to pay $500 for a truck or a car. How much of a savings do you think that is? I just said $1,500. $1,500 a month I'm talking about. That's $18,000 a year because I don't have a car payment for my primary mode of transportation. I don't have a huge rent or mortgage. I am living expense-free. But I still live extremely comfortable. I still say my truck to this day is like driving a lazy boy. Here in my house, I actually had a lazy boy couch made to fit, right? It's not custom. It was in the catalog. But it's extremely comfortable. Like I said, I want to live well, but live as a minimalist. Let's look at another area of expense we can talk about.